Paper piano rolls were created in two different ways. Either they were created by encoding the music directly from the score itself onto the roll by dotting preparations and then feeding it into the reproducing piano, or they would have the artist play the music on the reproducing piano while a blank piano roll was punched with the corresponding dots and dashes. Period. The reason why the former would have to be adapted and the latter would be adopted especially by people who improvised, such as James P. Johnson and Fats Waller, was that the reproducing piano had to be kept at a steady tempo, which should be accomplished by pressing a pedal down at the foot of the piano itself. Thereby, a pneumatic mechanism would cause the roll to be spun at a steady RPM. If it wasn't kept at a steady RPM, then the pitch and everything else would suffer. Period. They did not have automatic piano reproducing pianos until just before the Great Depression, whereon production of most of these instruments ceased, and experienced a revival in the 50s and 60s with artists such as Stockhausen and Philip Glass, as well as Miles Davis. However, these instruments' heydays were definitely in between by the time the roll was created in 1874 and 1929. Publishers of these rolls, such as Ampico, Aeolian, and Duodeco, would record anything under the sun that people would be interested in. This included music from composers such as Beethoven and Stravinsky, to that fancy thing called ragtime, created by people such as Scott Joplin and James P. Johnston. Even musicians such as Fats Waller would record their piano performances onto these rolls. In addition to these, folk music has been found to have comprised much of these rolls as well, leading these rolls to be some of the only resources to vernacular music from this time period. Additionally, the fact that all these different genres were popular, not just for the well-to-do, but for businesses and less affluent individuals, meant that society's taste in what they considered music and worth listening to were changing. They would now have people playing pianos for saloon songs and of ethnic and racial minority composers. Period. While these predated the modern civil rights movement, it does represent a shift in what people considered art music and worth listening to. Period. So aside from the clear musicological associations, this definitely has a place in history in terms of sociological and historical meaning. Sandovic's Back to the Future study proves that the differing quality and digitizations cause a massive difference in pitch, timbre, duration, and the spectrograph and spectral imaging. Essentially, these digitizations are so different that it's hard to tell which one would have been the original from the piano roll, and they sound variations of the same piece rather than copies the way they should be. Period. However, this is not the fault of the piano rolls themselves, as Stanovic herself asserts. Rather, it is the fault that we do not have a codified process for digitization, and instead it is left up to collectors around the world and a few researchers. We need a standardized process like we would for LPs, CDs, and books. Otherwise, we cannot go about preservation in any meaningful way.